The Zen'in clan are one of the three major families within Jujutsu Kaisen's world, and over the course of centuries have honed their skills and become deeply rooted within the world of Jujutsu. And with this vast family comes a variety of powers and abilities, so I thought, hey, let's rank them. Starting out at D tier is Aogi Zen'in, the Akashi, and the Kokoro unit. The Akashi are a pretty obscure group. All that's really known about them is that they all had curse techniques, but did not meet the requirements to join the Hei. The Kokoro unit are likely around their tier in strength, or perhaps greater than them in strength, given they are a lower branch of the Hei themselves. Think of the Akashi as essentially being a tier below the Kokoro unit, although the difference between them is a little unquantifiable, so they go into the same tier. The Kokoro unit are also put through a grueling martial arts training program that sees them constantly training and improving, so despite lacking curse techniques, they are still fairly strong. Maki herself seems to have gotten pretty much all of her close combat skills from this training, since before she joined Jujutsu High, she was a part of the Kokoro unit, Maki herself being about grade 3 level the first time we ever see her in volume 0, and training Yuta well enough to be able to at least scrap somewhat with Geto in hand-to-hand combat. I'm not saying Maki is Geto level in skill here, I'm just saying she's got a good grasp on martial arts, and she's likely gotten that from her training in the Kokoro unit. And rounding off D tier is Aogi Zen'in. Aogi's best accomplishment is defeating Maki and Mai, who are already not that strong, with Toji perceiving Megumi to be even stronger than her, even after he had used domain expansion and was gasping for air, barely able to stand. And while Maki herself did take a bit of a beating, it's implied opening a domain expansion takes a massive amount out of you, far more than what Maki actually suffered at the hands of Dagon. To make matters worse, even after hearing that Maki had defeated Aogi, the Kokoro unit are not even phased and think she must have jumped him in the shower basically. And the leader of the Kokoro unit, Nobuaki, thinks that the Goon Squad is enough to take her down. Aogi himself seems to think that he's an equal in strength to Naobito Zen'in, which logically should put him much higher on the list. But in an interview with the author, Akutami Gege, they confirm that Aogi actually has no idea how strong Naobito is, and would get completely destroyed by him without difficulty. Kind of like how some Dragon Ball villains hype themselves up, only to really just get one-shot by Goku anyway. There are two ways to interpret Aogi's rank, however. Either you think he's Hei level for being grade 1 sorcerer, or you think he sucks and is around the Kokoro in strength. You could even say that the Zen'in may have even manipulated his rank given they were able to do the same with Maki, but that's up to you. Me personally, I'd say he's stronger than the Kokoro unit, but since he isn't part of the Hei, meanwhile Junichi is, then I'd wager that he probably isn't as strong as the Hei, which moves us to our next tier. C tier consists of Junichi, Ranta, Chojuro, and Megumi Zen'in. So the Hei are all fairly relative, with Junichi being somewhat implied to be stronger than Ranta, who believed he would be able to take down Maki, whilst Ranta himself was able to restrict Maki's movements briefly, something more impressive than everyone else before him. It's even implied later on during Maki's fight with Naoya that the Hei were actually strong enough to tire her out, implying she had to put in a fair amount of effort to actually beat them. This is all much more impressive than pretty much everything else anyone else has even done, including Megumi, who by this point didn't really have too much to him. You could say that by virtue of him pushing against Dagon's domain, he's Dagon domain level, but that gets weird since that ends up with Megumi being stronger than Naobito, which doesn't really align well in most Jujutsu Kaisen fans' eyes. Toji, however, did seem to think Megumi was stronger than One-Arm Naobito, so if you think One-Arm Naobito is stronger than the Hei, you could say Megumi would be stronger than the Hei too. However, there isn't much consistency for that. Megumi's placement can also change depending on if you think the Culling Game players like Reggie are beyond Dagon level, which is a whole other video in and of itself. Moving to B tier though, we have Human Naoya and Naobito. There isn't really much to say here since these are pretty self-explanatory, and I'm also interested in making a video on these two, but to sum it up, Naoya performs better than everyone in the tiers below combined against Maki, and was able to push Maki by a fair amount, and Naobito, having the title of second fastest sorcerer, along with completely destroying base Dagon and requiring almost all of Dagon's domain power to even damage, solidifying these two as solid B tiers. Just to real quickly further Naobito's level of strength, Dagon should be pretty much way stronger than Hanami, and if you'll remember, it took multiple black flashes from Yuji to really push Hanami to even use a domain expansion, so the fact that Dagon can do this much to Naobito, and Naobito can just kind of absolutely bully him and only really lose one arm after tanking his domain for like a whole minute, it should really push the idea that Naobito is really strong. I don't want to comment too much on these two though, as like I said, I want to make a video on them. Up next is A tier with Maki Zen'in, Toji Zen'in, and Cursed Naoya. Cursed Naoya was capable of pressing a stronger Maki than the one that destroyed the clan, and was capable of fighting both her and multiple other sorcerers at the same time, such as Daido and Kama. Cursed Naoya was so dangerous in fact that Maki had to basically acquire precognition to be able to take him down, by learning how to perceive the world and predict where Naoya was going to be. This Naoya was also capable of using domain expansion, something that no other Zen'in besides Megumi has displayed before, with Megumi himself being a kind of prodigy, and wielding seemingly one of the most difficult curse techniques there is, with Gojo implying it has a vast amount of potential and he's just coming across it now. Toji and Maki are pretty much the same person, so they come in at the same tier, with Toji probably just having more experience than Maki, but that's more speculation. The important part of these two is that their ability to throw hands with people like Teen Gojo, their ability to completely embarrass special grades like the previously mentioned Dagon, and overall being some of the most skilled hand-to-hand fighters in the entire verse, whilst also having the most visually impressive feats in the series, such as Maki catching a Naoya moving at Mach 3, or Toji just soloing Dagon, who can create an entire island and possibly even a star in his domain expansion. Even Maki before her awakening was capable of somewhat impressing the special grade Hanami, and Toji is hyped up by Naoya as being this kind of pinnacle of strength, so A tier is the best spot for them. I'd also put Mai here in her sword form, since she's basically a duo with Maki, but if you only want to treat her as a sole individual, then she'd drop to D tier, it's up to you. And finally, at S tier, we have the Golden Age Zen'in sorcerers. Golden Age is one of the most obscure concepts within Jujutsu Kaisen, however, what we do know is enough to solidify them as being beyond pretty much every grade 1 and below sorcerer of current day, with Gege coming out and saying that the golden age of Jujutsu was the peak, essentially cursed energy control, cursed energy volume, and all the things that make up a sorcerer, and then the ability to be a sorcerer was at its peak here. And this is also where the 3 great families were originally founded, solidifying them as pretty much the template which the current Zen'in are trying to replicate. This is also the age where Sukuna, arguably the strongest sorcerer to ever exist, was born and really rose to prominence. Other powerhouses like Michizune are capable of even pressing current Gojo, as he himself said in the 3rd light novel. So it's safe to say that the guys from the Golden Age were absolute powerhouses. If you want a visual representation of this, you can look to Kenjaku, who by himself is able to throw hands with other special grades whilst holding back. Or you know, the Golden Age are like Nanami level. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.